Good day everyone. I am Mondro Diliso and this is my co-reporters, Tia May Duran. So, our topic is teaching by asking. So, let's start. In mathematics class, effective questioning is essential. Students will get bored if his or her teacher merely states facts. An effective teacher does not just tell definition and theorems, but rather ask meaningful questions that lead the learners to the correct idea. Also, the teacher gets to identify the students who are having a hard time with the lessons and those with more advanced skill through questioning. It is through questioning that a teacher gets to know the misunderstanding of the learners. If a teacher is knowledgeable about the misunderstanding of the learners, then the teacher will have the greatest understanding of his or her learners. So, it is therefore necessary that teacher deliberately frame questions that will keep the class discussion moving. The goal of this strategy is to keep the learners' voices at the forefront of every classroom session. The challenge for you now is to think of questions that you could ask that would get your student engaged. So in mathematics class, teaching by asking is it's really need because not just telling them some theories or some definition about your discussion, but you must also ask questions for them to be engaged or not get bored. So here, you must think about some some question that will engage your students. So first is here you must think discussion versus lecture. So in discussion-based strategy, the teacher role is to engage the learners in a question-oriented dialogue. The teacher spends a significant amount of asking scaffolding questions to help the students understand an ideas deeply. The interaction in this method leans on both teacher and students' equal participation. This type of strategy is different from the lecture. In a lecture, the teacher is the chief source of information. It's where discussion versus lecture. So in discussion versus lecture, the discussion-based strategy daw, the teacher role is to engage the learners in a question-oriented dialogue. The teacher spend a significant amount of asking asking the students. So here the interaction in these methods leans on both teacher and students equal participation. So you must not just discussing, you must have some question to ask if they have a knowledge or some ideas about your discussion, just like that. Next is, let's move on. Art of questioning. Not all questions are created equal. Some questions can be answered by a simple yes or no. Some questions would require the student to think more meaningfully. Asking the right questions will help you understand what your learners know, do not know, and need to know. Asking questions is an art. As with most arts, no specific formula will work in all situations all the time. This lesson will enumerate general ideas for your careful consideration when framing essential questions. So as an art of questioning, not all questions are created equal. Some questions would be answered by a simple yes and no. Some questions would require the student to think more meaningfully. So what are that? What are example of that? So about this discussion, just like that, for order for them to think more meaningfully. So art of questioning, asking question daw is an art. With most art, no specific formula will work in all situation all the time. So this lesson will enumerate general ideas for careful consideration when framing essential questions. Next is uh, Avoid one-word respond questions. So refrain from asking questions that only requires a yes or no answer. In general, questions that would require one-word answer do not provide much information to check your learner's thought processes. So this type of questioning may not stretch the mental muscle of your learners. Questions are posed to help the students articulate themselves, clarify concepts, challenge known assumptions, examine reason, and make significant connection to mathematical concepts. So here, you should avoid one-word response. So in general, a question that would require one word answer do not provide much information to check your learner's thought. So here, you must avoid one word response in teaching mathematics because you cannot uh, uh, check or not much you cannot check the information of your student, no, what is their ideas or what have they learned in your discussion when you teach math. So you must avoid one word respond questions. Foster a climate conductive to learning and questioning. Make sure that your learners feel comfortable to express her or his ideas and ask questions at any time. Some students are reluctant to speak up because they are afraid of what the teacher classmate might think if they give an incorrect response. Listen attentively to what your learners have to say. If your learners feel what you are listening to their ideas, then a good working relationship with them will develop. Do not focus on hearing correct responses, but rather focus on listening to the message that the learners are trying to send across. Avoid directing a challenging question to the students if your goal is just to discipline him or her for not behaving well in class. Challenging questions are posed to stimulate critical thinking, create a classroom environment where the learners feel heard and recognized. So here in do not in foster climate conducive to learning and questioning, you must learn to accept even though it is incorrect answer or not correct, because here you must develop a relationship with your students in the classroom. So not not only hearing correct responses, but rather focus on listening on the message that the learners are trying to send across. Not only those correct responses you acknowledge or recognize, but even though it is wrong, you must recognize it also or acknowledge the students kung saan iyahang answer na. Next is my questions, my answer is a no-no. So here, do not answer your own questions if you are not able to elicit responses from your students. Try rephrasing your questions. Do not rush the learners to give responses instantly. Give them some time to provide an hypothesis deeply about ideas. You might also give some leading questions to help them level up their conceptual understanding. If your student does not answer correctly, you should continue to listen and ask clarificatory. Thinking should be respected and valued, even if the response contain many misconceptions. So here, do not just answer your own questions. So, and also do not rush your student if you have a question to them. Let them think or make their ideas, no? So, do not pressure the student. If wag kang magbigay ng mga question na yung beyond sa ilahang natun-an or nahibalan, because Even though lisod siya, try to rephrasing it or make it simple for them to understand. Labi na elementary students. So, is that understood? Next.
Frame questions that are accessible to all learners. Remind your student that the question is for all members of the class. Try not to label the degree of difficulty of questions. Avoid saying, I expect my fast learners challenge wants to answer these questions. Give open-ended question from time to time. The answer to open-ended question vary from person to person. This type of questioning encourages the students to communicate their thoughts since there are multiple answers to open-ended questions. Moreover, this allows all types of learners to contribute their ideas to the discussion. Get ready to hear surprising answers from your learners. So, remind as a future teacher, remind na to sa atong estudyante that the question is for all members of the class. So, wala exempted, no? Susunod sa atong classroom. Then, try not to label the degree of difficulty of the questions. Dili na to lisod-lisoron atong estudyante kasi ingon ana ilang grado taas. Naaapot ba yung uban nga estudyante nga bright lagi sila pero naapod na sila ay kahinaan. Avoid saying, I expect my fast learners wants to answer these questions. So, give open-ended questions from time to time. So, as a future teacher, jud no, hatagan jud nato sila question taga oras aron makabalo pud ta nga nanjud sila nakuha sa ato ang gidiscuss ug nanjud sila nasabtan sa ato ang gihatag nila nga lessons. So, the answer to open-ended question vary from person to person. So, may strato estudyante o pwede pod na siya sa estudyante to estudyante aron ma-share jud nila kung unsa ilahang nakuha sa gidiscuss ni teacher. So, this type of questioning encourage the student to communicate their thoughts since there are multiple answers to open-ended questions. So, i-encourage na to atong mga estudyante to communicate their thoughts since there are multiple answers to open-ended questions. Moreover, there allows all types of learners to contribute their ideas to the discussion. So, get ready to hear surprising answer from your learners. Learners should be active questioners too. Demand your student to ask questions. So, as a future teacher, no, magdemand ta kung unsa ilahang mga pangutana. The learners should practice directing question not only to you but also to their co-learners. So, dili lang di ay kita pwede as a future teacher, dili lang di kita pwede mo mangayog pangutana o pangutana sa ilaha pwede po di ay nga mangutana isig pangutan anay ang estudyante to estudyante. You should give the other student the time to develop an answer to the question that their co-learners have posed. So, hatagan nato sila time sa pag-develop sa ilang answer nga gihatag sa ilang co-learners nga questions. So, keep in mind that in a discussion, you do not always provide a ready answer. So, you want the voice of your student to be at the center of every classroom session. After hearing a response from one student, follow up by channeling it to another learner for feedback. So pag humanda na to dungog sa answer sa ubang estudyante, magkwanta kanang channeling, maglantaw-lantaw sa uban nga kung pwede ba sila makahatag og feedback sa answer sa ilang classmate nga tubag sa question. So, this prompt the student for further participation.
So, as a summary of our report, a teacher can effectively facilitate meaningful discussion by asking the right questions. Questioning is a beautiful art that scaffolds students' learning. In this strategy, it is important that you have already created a learning environment that is open to questioning. So that's all, everyone.